In space, no one can hear you cast a spell, which is what I would say if I knew what magic sounded like. You think it sounds like Disney glitter? Like a nice little ditty jingle? No. I don't know. How could you know what magic sounds like? You don't. We must make it up in video games. Never mind my ability to breathe in space. It's magic. We don't have to explain shit. Thank you, Apogee. I noticed you're on the planet Earth as your logo. Do. Oh yeah, see this guy on the title screen? That's what we're fighting. Did you know that? Yeah. Isn't that funny? I like if you read the letters for the menu. It starts with the word broil. If you take the first letters and form a word out of them. Now I'm assuming this is somewhere in space, but there's like planets lined up, and it looks like really tall, cylindrical moon crater-like things. I don't know. Yeah, that's the stuff. I'm sorry that we're using the title screen music. I can't know about this crap. Oh, wait, what happened now? Oh. Would you believe I have done something incorrect? I have to get those switches first and then be alright. So I don't know if I'm going to survive that. Yeah, I should have messed with those switches first. And now that I've realized my mistake, we're going to start this level over. Thought you were hot. Guess what? I am. Tough break. Oh no, not the toughest breaks. I hate those. Oh no, we're using enemies too. All is lost. That felt appropriate. It's like, oh, I'm gonna need something better than that. Here, have your rapid fire. Yes. Still on board for my Apogee Smash Brothers clone. Totally. At least those folks making the Quake Champion game have recognized the Heretic / Hexen universe, so we, despite, you know, part of it belonging to Raven, which belongs to Activision, aka, oh no, they're working the Call of Duty mines. That's still sad. But then again, if for some reason Microsoft did buy Activision Blizzard, would they bring back Heretic? Considering they also own... Wait, do they also own Bethesda? I don't remember now. But, yeah, that'd be cool if that was an excuse to bring Heretic back. I'd like to see that. Please. Like, just what they do with Doom Eternal, but with Heretic. Or hell, even with Duke Nukem, I wish went that way, instead of Duke Nukem Forever. Even though Duke Nukem Forever is... I don't want to say is overrated. The right term for the most recent official Duke Nukem game is what I call overhated. As in, it got so hyped that people hate it for not meeting expectations, except it released long after anyone should have cared at that point. But no, people were still paying attention to it. Like, if Half-Life 3 would ever get released, it'd probably get bad reviews because the hype has become, like, impossible to actually reach the standards of your game to. So that's why it's not being released. I don't think it's because of people dying or just, like, you know, the original people want to try other stuff. I really do think it's just the expectations of Half-Life 3 are at an impossible standard. So it can't be done now. The carriage is passed for that time to happen. If it were like 10 years ago, it probably would have been okay. Maybe. Actually, 15 years ago. Yeah, basically, if you were like in 2008 or 2009, I don't think Half-Life 3 would be shat upon. If you released it now, then yeah, sure. Because what... I don't know. I don't know what people think they want game companies to do sometimes. I mean, yeah, I shouldn't just accept what they put out there. But also, what could I reasonably expect them to do? I can just tell them what I don't like. I don't know how to tell them what I specifically like, because then they'll just make the same thing over and over again until people think I should be tired of it. It's like, how dare you play clones of the same game all the time? Yeah, I made that mistake too, being like, oh, all Call of Duties are the same. Why do people like this? Then, you know, now I'm like, and that's before I was, you know, of age. past adulthood now, I'm like, oh, now I understand why now. Because people like a genre and they want to play more stuff that's similar to said genre. So, that just has to be Call of Duty likes, right? Or why people keep playing Minecraft over and over again. Except it's not really over and over again. How dare you? Why you discuss Minecraft? Because it has some roots in DOS, that being of Rogue and Commander Keen. Like, seriously. Mostly Rogue, though. Any procedural generation, you have an ancient DOS game to thank. That probably goes with, like, these chat AI things, too. We've had that stuff in the past, too. Like, one simulating a psychologist on DOS. That's the earliest example I can think of. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. Because I don't rightfully remember. Just pulled options for the hat. The hat had options for you. If the pig man wants to shoot because he's a ghost little green demon man, maybe he's related to Gandalf, we don't know. He's like a moblin in space. A green moblin space fiend ghost. That's what he is. I can't understand how you're still alive. Why do you even give me tips, bro? Yahoo! I can't get enough of that sound. Yahoo! Yeah. Wait, does Yahoo.com still exist? Wait, I think Ask Jeeves and Lycos still exists? Wow. What? Then again, it's not as if I haven't tried to use other search engines before. Yes. The trouble is that since the market and searchers got cornered, they all seem to act this. They all don't act the same in their best. They also act the same in their worst. So they're like all bad for the same reasons. Kind of like if they just homogenized into one bad thing when people aren't trying anything different. It's just like there's too much data to try to do it in a new way. But yeah, you need a different like web crawler or something. I know Microsoft tries to do that and it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. We don't know why it works sometimes, but it's only sometimes. I don't think it's every times. It is all the times. Lycos, go fetch. Okay, thanks, Lycos. You found it. Yeah, Lycos' thing was supposed to be the search engine was supposed to literally be a dog. It's like, okay, that's an idea for advertising. It's like, your loyal dog search engine. Whereas Ask Jeeves is more like, you know, a butler. Being like, you wanted that rare photograph of Bowsette, sir. It's like, yes. That's how Ask Jeeves would probably be used in the modern day. Here's that 20-year-old art you're looking for. Yes. One Rickroll served a la mode, Master Bruce. Yeah, I'm Batman. I love Rickrolls. Just like Shadow like Swiss rolls. Yeah. You ever think Batman, like, when he approaches an anti-hero, is like, damn it, another protagonist with a gun. Make me look bad. Whereas Batman is the most heroic anti-hero, as in he's not an anti-hero, or the most anti-heroic hero, which he's not. Batman is the solid, it's any interpretation, there's lots of interpretations of Batman actually, but the most like median Batman is squarely in between anti-hero and hero. Never really an anti-hero though. Because he has standards, okay? It's not quite. It's never like Punisher level. There was like a comic interpretation of Batman if he was Punisher though. So, yeah. Like, I like the idea of these like dark evil Batman ideas. Or more accurately, I like the idea that since DC had a bunch of universes with like positive numbers, like, hey, what if we had like negative number universes? I'm like, what the fuck? Okay. But in order for it to make sense, whereas they said that universes are based on possibility, that negative universes were based on imagination, specifically fear, but, I mean, yeah. So it's like, things you'd never thought to happen, that you'd never want to happen, would instead happen in a negative universe. Which is strange to me. Very strange. In fact, if I feel like every comic book character nowadays, like in the last 5 to 10 years, we're making like multiversal arcs about these things. So there's like multiversal Spider-Man, multiversal Batman, multiversal whatever the fuck. Upon a grand schematic, like I think they do that with like the Hulk in a way too, where it's just like, oh, by the way, Hulk's power comes from literally Satan. Now it's like, how much higher up the echelons do we need these heroes to the point where we can't actually write anymore? Because that's where we're heading. Okay, that's what happens when you make everything canon without being able to reboot stuff. Like, if you're at the point where you need to retcon stuff, you should be rebooting. You should be rebooting your franchises. You should not be like rewriting your franchises. Okay, have them be connected in some way with like the universe. It's like, just make a new universe, use that one, come back to the other one later when you can. That's what I thought the point of making these universes was, so you can try different stories. And then instead of just forcing them all one single canon like many writers have done, because it's a clusterfuck, and trying to keep a story straight when you have literal monetary interests and like personal interests mucking up logic and canon, a lot of shit goes wrong. And well, for that reason, I don't hold a lot of fiction in a high regard as you might expect me to. I see it for what it is. Which is unfortunate. It means I deconstruct all fictional media. It's terrible, I know, but ironically allows me to enjoy it more. Kind of like someone who watches wrestling knowing about it being fake, you know, for the kayfabe. It's like, yeah, okay. It's like, I know it's fake, but I'm watching anyway. That's just me with any fiction or art. All of it. Especially so with video games. But video games have the effect of not being totally art. Yeah, video games gets to be the only form of media in which it is not just art. Like, yeah, interactivity can be an art, but that would be the performance art. No, there's... A video game ideally can balance the left and the right half of the brain. Not in a way that's literally, oh, your left half is logic and right half is art. No, it's not like, I don't mean like that, literally, no. But it does balance both halves of, like, human thought, I guess. / emotion? Something like that. You know, with science and art, logic, and emotion meeting at once. And when you watch a fiction for logic anyway, that's what sci-fi was supposed to be for, until we've decided to put sci-fi and fantasy in the same category, which I'm getting very sick of. Guys, it's like calling all metal bands the same. You don't need to do this. I knew there was something up with that, because the latest WarioWare game was just like, oh, which character does the fantasy genre? It turned out to be those 2 cab drivers, which usually do sci-fi, until that last game. I'm like, okay, you've gone too far. You're mixing your sci-fi for fantasy. It's like, oh, but it's all speculative fiction. And you know what I'm thinking to myself? Speculative fiction is redundant. That's all fiction, buddy. All fiction is speculative. That's why it's called fiction. Because we're just making it up. Oh, my God. What if it was magic? I don't know. That's like, what if creationism was science? I don't know. Probably not. Even if you consider them having, like, overlapping arches, the goals of them are very different, even if you just end up learning the same things. Okay? Just saying. It's like an oil and water situation. They don't really conflict, they just can't mix, or they shouldn't be able to. But people get it wrong constantly. They say like, they see a scientist just like, oh, he seems weird, when he's just, like, saying things literally, you know? Like, if they refer to an animal as a female specimen, it's like, oh, it must be gross because he uses the word female. It's just like, that's where you're trying to use logic as an emotion. And I think I'm guilty of the other way around, of using logic as an emotion. There's just like, oh yes, my reason for doing this is because this, where I don't, like, associate. It's like, yeah, all my emotions are logical, right? Yeah, no. No, they're not. They're not. It's quite overlooked. Like, It takes a while to be like, get over your own biases over people. I'm not talking about like the obviously bad ones, just anything, any little thing. The thing that was more difficult that I had to figure out recently is like biases about myself. Whether it's like, whether you're confident in self-loathing, one can have a bias about oneself. In fact, any amount of belief in oneself can be a bias, so you gotta be careful with that. And I just kind of realized that the more I play video games when I'm making mistakes, how true that actually holds. And part of that mistake is just simply because I'm on a whole nother level, so I just be like, oh yeah, how could I possibly screw up? Or how can I screw up in such a way that's going to be immediately obvious? Well, that's the thing. It doesn't matter how good you are at something, you're still going to mess up. Or you're going to mess up in a way in which no one's ever messed up before. That's the worst part. That's the worst part, is if you end up being so smart that you mess up in a way that you can't actually imagine of doing, or anyone else has ever imagined. So, yeah. The more well-versed you are, the more room you have to make mistakes. It's kind of like you make mistakes that no one's thought of, because, you know, no one's like... I don't know where this is going, so I'm going to stop. Let's move on to the boss level. I feel bad about that off-topic conversation, because it was getting quickly into a random assortment of uhs and ahs. So, more rambling and drawing than usual. It wasn't coherent enough for me. Probably means that this is going to be the last of the episode 1 stuff. The 7 mad monks of Melanvar. There really are 7. And yes, if you touch one, you instantly die. But these guys don't move. They will shoot at you, though. But do not touch. Da-da-da-da-dun. What are they mad at? I don't know. Why they live on what I consider to be the moon? That's the better question. Monks in space. Maybe they're related to the cyber monks. An obscure reference to something that doesn't hold any function as it could have. I could have been a cyber monk, man. Actually, that's a good theory, is that in a past life I could have been a monk. Like, not in the, like, purely aesthetic way. I'm talking like, you know, in medieval times, they're just like, okay, I'm gonna write down these documents. And then just, you know, sit on the bench with the others as we practice, like, stuff without really caring about other people. So, yeah. Other past life ideas are like, oh, maybe I used to be an ancient doctor. Well, I mean, or shaman or something. Like, that's probably correct for, like, if I'd lived in those times, but I'm not going to say anything about whether reincarnation is true. I don't think so. There's a simple reason for that. And that's because there's more people alive now than ever. Like, isn't there, like, 7 to 8 billion people now? Not too long ago, where it was 6 in my lifetime. And that's a huge fucking jump to go from 6 billion to 7 billion in such a short amount of time, considering the entirety of human history. So that's how I know. It's just because there's more humans living, so there had to be some fresh souls from the reincarnation bin that didn't exist yet. That's what I'm thinking, actually. That's my only, like, real proof on that. The only way you could work around that is to assume that there's just, like, a whole bunch of people waiting or taking turns or something, but yeah. So maybe that's exciting. Maybe there's just, like, people who aren't reincarnated from anyone, because there's so many people that they have to come up with new souls. Somehow this ended up being more coherent than my last topic, so, okay. I like how the boss levels are just part of the level. As in, I still have to actually collect all the crystals. These guys are just in the way. Like, the bosses are just part of the level itself. It's like if Bowser was in the middle of the level and you're just like, oh, hey, Bowser. Dump them in the lava. But there's still, like, half of the rest of the level to go. It's like, oh, yeah. Where'd the rest of this go? I got my rapid fire. I shoot all the things. I don't know why is it when I pick up treasure it sounds like water drops, but it's making me thirsty. Bloop, bloop. shooting everything. Man, I should have put a disclaimer. Hey, this game might cause seizures. Not as badly as Clyde's Adventure, because I'm pretty sure that one could. But, yeah. So which potion do we think it is? I'm just going to use all of them. By the way, only one is right. The other 4 are going to send me right above the spike. But I found that just like in Mario, when you grab an item and then you just hold jump, you just go straight up. So when I warp there, I'm like, hold the jump button so I can just lift myself up. It works a few times, which is good enough, because all my health is going just because I'm like, I must test all warp potions, even when I've already succeeded. And the worst thing that happens is that you get hit 4 times, but you'll still be alive anyway. And I'm sure there's more health potions up ahead. So it's not too bad. It's just slightly inconvenient. In fact, I see them right above me, so never mind. That's enough health if I was able to touch all of them from how much damage I'm going to take right now. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, it's interesting. You never thought you'd see percentage of health in like a platformer game. Well, that's how... It's part of the design philosophy that's used in first-person shooters. So it's just like, you know, you collect health so you can take multiple hits. It's less frustrating that way. Because we tire of instant death games like Commander Keen. Just die in one hit. Sucks. It's still annoying. I don't like one-hit kills in my platformers, dude. Even Mario knows better than that to make it just 2 hits. That way, you at least have a damn chance. It's like having a freebie. It's like, okay, alright, I'm going to use my invincibility frames so I can run through Bowser while I'm big. And it's just like, yeah, you need to be able to tank just a wee smidgen. For all you smidgen pigeons out there. Can't believe how many whoops. I did get the correct one. But all the correct one does is open a thing. So we've opened the thing now. What's lava doing out in space? Guys, is there lava on the moon? Do I need to know about that? What? What if the life on Mars is instead life on lava? Green pigmen that shoot horizontally, and I don't really care about them. That's why I zap them with this electricity out of my hands that I would like to know about you. Oh, bore that. Okay. Throw the dots at him. He won't stand a chance. I'll just fire pellets at my mouth. Yum, 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 yum. Ah, possum spit. I'm still not really upbeat, or I'm still not really feeling fond of the new Advance Wars thing. But that's the worst thing I could say about it is that it already exists. So it's just, it works for someone who's never played Advance Wars. For me, who I have played Advance Wars, I don't actually need it. Technically. Really. I really don't. Plus, we have, like, there's some other stuff, like Nectarus being an older example, and a newer example being Wargroove. Nectarus being interpreted sometimes as the game you might know as Military Madness. I was thinking of doing videos on turbo strategy games for Advance Wars and Nectarus specifically. Or that stuff by Blue Byte, that would count. Similar kind of stuff. Not Fire Emblem, though, because I don't hate myself. I wish I could like Fire Emblem as much as people do, and I know why people like it. I mean, maybe nowadays it's more focused on, like, you know, bonding with people, but I mean the strategy aspect, where it's just like, oh no, people's gonna die, and it's gonna affect the plot, and I won't be able to play the game. And usually I'm paranoid about, like, games in which I have to keep myself alive, not a whole bunch of other people alive. Not in Advance Wars, though. You can just, like, waste people all you like, because it's war. Haha, funny. You did it. You got the thingies. You are the most treasuring of the treasury. Press any key. Please. Oh yeah, boom, 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 boom. You can read this test for yourself. I think I'm turning over a leaf in which I'm just not reading the text in games anymore, as much as I want to. I mean, the only reason I did it in Doom is because it actually displayed the text like as one would a typewriter, so I actually had a reason to do that. But here it's just plainly on the screen, and I'm reading it way faster than I would read it out loud. So anytime you see text like this in any game I'm playing, just pause the video. Now in an RPG, well, I mean, I'll give plenty of time for text anyway if I do that, but that's beside the point, because I don't know if I'm doing that. So make sure to broil your checks, because I'm returning to DOS. Next time I'll start the second episode. Hooray!